wizard, Harry.
What's up, wizards, witches, and muggles? It's time to hop on the Hogwarts Express and go back to school one final time. Welcome back to Potter Watch, a podcast within a podcast where the Fantasy Files and friends go through the entire Harry Potter series, book by book and movie by movie. We are your magical co-hosts, Spencer, Gabe, and Sam, and today we will be going through Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, both the book and the movie. We will also be letting spoilers fly from all across the series, because obviously we're here at the end and we've been letting spoilers fly this entire time. So just be prepared for that. This is not a podcast for anybody who hasn't read the whole series already. And as always, all our links are in the description, like Twitter, Discord, and Patreon, where you can get exclusive content and see these episodes early. You can chat with us live as we record them, just like Nova is here. And yeah, you can come hang out with us live. So join us there if you would like. But enough about that. Let's talk about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Part 2. This is picking up from after the death of Dobby, and we are kind of going from there and seeing, we're kind of starting out where Harry and the trio are trying to figure out how they're going to get into Gringotts and get the, what's the cup? Is it the Hufflepuff cup? Is that the class or the whatever, the house? The goblet. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So as we go into general thoughts here, I just want to say, we made it, guys. We're here at the end. This is the end of an era, and it's kind of bittersweet. We were talking, backstage before starting the episode proper, how it's Sam said it perfectly. She's like, I'm glad we're at the end because I don't think I have one more in me. And I feel the same. I love this series so much, and I feel like I could talk about it all the time, but I am so ready to get on to other books that we're not as committed to. Because it's kind of a big series to commit to. This was 7 books, and then we did the last book in 2 parts, so 8 episodes, and it's been a lot, and we've been trying to do them frequently because they're some of our best performing episodes, and so I've been trying to get them out once a month if we can. But yeah, I'm also ready to be finished as much as I love it, so yeah, it's nice to be here at the end, but it's also a little bittersweet. I was looking at some notes of our previous episodes because I was I'll pull up the notes from the previous episode and I'll copy and paste the intro basically, and I'll kind of change some things to make it fit the new episode. And I accidentally pulled up notes from the second episode we did for Chamber of Secrets. And Sam, guess how long ago that was?
Oh God, I can only imagine. A year ago?
It was before you joined as a co-host.
Oh my God. Wow.
Because the intro said, and I quote, it was hey everybody, welcome and all that stuff. I'm we are your hosts. I was Spencer, Gabe, Bryce. That was the episode that Bryce was on from Shelf Centered. And then I was and Sam. And in the intro, I said, and she might as well just be called a co-host at this point because she's been on so many episodes. And I think it was actually that one where at the end of it, you and I had the discussion of should I just come on as a co-host? And I was yeah, let's do it. And so, we're kind of this is kind of what started everything as a co-host for you. So it's pretty cool to be here at the end with you guys.
So how long ago was that? Do you remember did it say when it was from or no?
I didn't have a date on it, but if we go back to if we look in the channel, I'm
Yeah,
sure that I can find it.
it's fine. I just
Um,
knew if you knew off the top of your head.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's just cool to be here at the end and we're all here. We did it. We finally got through all of it. We can't even say the same thing about our Dresden Files episodes. Our Dresden Files episodes have been going on for near 5 years, and those aren't finished yet. So it feels good to wrap something up. Man. Yeah, we recorded that on June 23rd, 2024.
Yes, almost a year ago. Wow.
Almost a year ago. Yeah. Pretty crazy. So I will tell we talked about this before the episode proper, but I will say that to our viewers, um we will be doing more Potter Watch episodes, like Potter Watch titled episodes in the future. I don't know what they'll look like. I don't know if it'll be like, exploring a certain topic, or maybe we watch the Fantastic Beasts movies and we talk about those or whatever. Um, but we definitely need some time away from Harry Potter for a while to like get back into other fantasy books. But I do know that in June, I think either the second weekend of June or the third weekend of June. We'll be having Bookborn on to come talk about Harry Potter in general. She wants to talk about Hogwarts Legacy and the books, of course. So we'll have her on, and that'll be like a Potter Watch episode. So that'll be really cool. But we'll figure out other ways to bring Potter Watch back and to have Harry Potter related discussions. Yeah, yeah, Nova. It really doesn't feel that long ago. Like it's pretty crazy. She's been here for almost a year, which is fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, like officially, and even before that, at least like a year or two
Oh
before
yeah, I
that was
mean
going
you've
on.
come
Yeah.
on as a guest since the beginning. I think our Night Angel episodes were in the 20s, like episode 25 or something. So you've been here since the beginning for sure.
Yeah. First Twitter follower. Well, when it
Yep,
was.
but it was brand new, yeah. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna open it up to you. I've done enough babbling. What did you guys think of the last half of Deathly Hallows?
Well, this is a two-part question for me, or two-part
Okay.
answer, I should say. The first part is, you know, having read, like you said, getting to the end and basically seeing the story finish itself is awesome. All the content was awesome, but the other half of that is I was struggling to find the will to continue.
Yeah.
Like like I don't know why, because I enjoyed the book a lot and I loved reading the book, but every time I thought about, oh, I gotta listen to Harry Potter, I was like, I don't really want to. Like, I don't like
Yeah.
it was just hard to. I don't know. I think I'm just done with it. Like you said, we've been on this for so long,
Right.
longer than at least something continuous without breaks.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. I might be a
Yeah.
little bitter, but
Yeah. No, I feel you. And you've had like a rough couple weeks too.
yeah,
You've been working like crazy hours and stuff, so I'm
yeah,
sure that feeds into it.
definitely.
Um, but yeah. Sam, what did you think coming from, seeing the movies and now you read the final installment of the books? Do you feel like you have all the context now and like a lot of your questions are answered? Like, do you feel more informed?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, absolutely, because there's so much in the books that they left out in the movies that I was shocked by, that seemed very important to the story overall. And I don't know how anybody would be expected to understand the movies without a lot of the things that had been left out. So like that was really great, and I definitely enjoyed watching the movies again because so much more made sense after knowing
Right.
this. But I mean, I overall loved the story, but on my own, like just choosing to read these, I never would have finished them.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, and I was kind of in the same boat as Gabe, where I really like had to make myself read these.
Yeah.
There wasn't too many times where I was like, "Oh, this is amazing! I just want to keep going." And that's not
I
to
don't know. There was a couple episodes. There was a couple episodes in the middle here where
yeah,
you're like I could not stop reading this one.
Yeah,
Like
and
like Half-Blood Prince.
yeah,
yeah,
and I think that's fair because it's like it was kind of the beginning, right? Like I don't think
Well,
at least
Half-Blood Prince wasn't.
yeah, but it's okay. How many books? Three?
No, that's the last. That's
No, three
book
books
6.
ago.
N-
no,
So
how
this is
was
part
the
two.
last?
That
It's
was the
part
last
one.
book.
Yeah,
No,
The book
okay.
before this
Well,
one.
still, that was how a month ago, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It was just like if I like forced myself to listen or read, I could get into them, but there was really not much where I was like, I want to be doing this. And I gotta say, like that's why I was like, I'm just so glad we're done. I couldn't have done another one. I truly could not have done
Sure.
one more book. I just really I'm grateful that this is the last one because honestly, I haven't had much time for reading lately. And so,
Yeah.
in your spare time, the last thing you want to do is like force yourself to read anything. And I'm glad I did because I did enjoy overall, like the story and how it ends and all of that. Um, but I just don't have that like nostalgic connection to it, like a lot of people did who read them as they came out when they were younger, and
Sure.
the earlier books were just really tough to get through. I enjoyed the early ones in some ways because I had the Mina Limas and having
Yeah.
like the pictures and the pop-ups and like it being interactive really was amazing. I absolutely love that. If every book had been like that, it would have been a breeze for me to finish all of these books. Um,
Sure.
but without them, it was really difficult. It was really difficult, and especially just the later books. Well, I understand why Harry's in the mood that he was in. It was really annoying to read about someone who was just so miserable 24/7. So,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean it really helped me with the movies and like I said I did like the story. I'm glad that we did this so that I did complete it fully because otherwise I wouldn't have. I really wouldn't have.
Right. For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think for me, reading Deathly Hallows, I don't think there's much of a difference for me between part 1 and part 2. But Deathly Hallows as a whole, uh I'm like, man, is this my number one favorite in the series now? Like, I don't know, like maybe like I just really, really, really enjoyed my time with Deathly Hallows and Half-Blood Prince, but I have such a bigger appreciation for Deathly Hallows now that I've done a reread and have gotten to this point. And I'm just like, man, there's so much foreshadowing that pays off. There's so many like big moments, like big character deaths, like Fred dying and Lupin and Tonks. I remember the first time that I realized Lupin and Tonks were dead. Like honestly, that hit me harder than Fred. I was like, wait a minute. Like Rowling is just wholesale killing like a third of her cast. Like, holy crap. Like, oh my gosh. And so I couldn't believe that they were dead. And then of course they show up at the end there when he activates the resurrection stone.
Mhm.
Um, so moments like that were so good. I loved I know some people really don't like it, but I really enjoyed all of the stuff with the Elder Wand, well, you thought Snape was the master of the Elder Wand, but what you didn't know is that before Snape killed him, Draco like disarmed Dumbledore, which made him the master of the Elder Wand, but then Harry disarmed Draco when he was at the Malfoy estate, and so he's technically like I ate all of that up. And I know some people are like, it's too much back and forth for me. It's too much like he did this, then he did this, but if I did this, and like too much like technical stuff.
Mhm.
But that's what I love about Brandon Sanderson books. I love the technical, like, well, technically Vin had this hemalurgic spike, which, all of this stuff, and like, and it makes it so that, everything makes sense. I love those. I love those kind of reveals. And so I had a great time with all of that. Um, Now, obviously, I know that you've seen the movies, so you knew this was coming, Sam. But also, Gabe, what did you guys think? If you can think back to the first time that you realized this was what was going on, what did you think about the reveal with Snape and him being kind of this complicated character? He's not like, it's hard to say that he's a good guy, but he's also not a bad guy. What'd you guys think of this reveal?
Yeah, I remember being, and I've seen the movies and way used to watch them all the time, but I remember
Sure.
being kind of, I don't know, I think it confused me at first. Like, it took me a second to like work through and understand like kind of where Dumbledore put him and his role, Snape's role in you know the Big D's
Right.
plan, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think that it works really good, and I think
Yeah.
that it made it like, I don't know, it's just a very intriguing and kind of like really cool way to like, or I guess show who he really is. I don't know. I
Hmm.
don't know if I'm saying that right, but yeah,
No,
I liked
yeah.
it. I liked it.
Yeah. I think I think we needed a heel turn, with so many people, or I guess I shouldn't say so many people, but there's people in these books that I feel should have gotten a better redemption arc. And I wouldn't say, it's hard to say that Snape got a redemption arc because he was never really like on paper like technically bad.
Yeah,
Uh, but the books certainly, all the books lead you to hate Snape. And there's plenty of reasons to. Like, he's not like a good guy. Like, he's not like a good person. Because I think if you're willing to bully this kid just because his dad bullied you back in the day, I don't think that makes you a good person, but he's certainly much more complicated than you're led to believe. And there's many, many, many shades of gray within that. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, if anything, it's a real human representation of how somebody would act. It's not all black and white and, oh, you thought he was a bad guy and then you find out he's just was only a good guy the whole time. He had his faults, and definitely the first time I watched it, it was really sad, but it left me just questioning, well, okay, if he was really like on their side the whole time with Dumbledore, why was he such a mean person to Harry throughout everything? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was a redemption, but it wasn't a redemption. You know what I
But
mean?
I think that's kind of what I like about his character, is because it's one of the most human, it's one of the most human representations I've seen in fantasy. I've wanted to make a video about it for a long time because as people, we have really irrational notions
Mhm.
sometimes. Like, sometimes there is somebody that we don't like and we have no good reason for not liking them. Sometimes we just find a reason to dislike somebody and we stick with that. And I've certainly had it in my life where there's been people, there's actually somebody who has been in my life that I actively disliked because I didn't like their kid. And that's just like, it's just like a human, like, there was nothing wrong with the actual, like, the person, the adult, but I like didn't like their kid, and so I therefore I didn't like them. And it's irrational, and it's, you know, irresponsible, and it's not a good thing by any stretch. But I think what I love about Snape's character is it's just very human. Like, it's just a
Yeah.
very, very human thing. Like, it doesn't make sense why he doesn't like Harry. By all metrics, like, if he actually knew Harry and knew what Harry was trying to do and knew the goodness that was in Harry, by all metrics, he should like Harry. But because of this thing that he just cannot let go of, this thing that he cannot get over, he actively dislikes Harry.
But I kind of
And
understand why he dislikes Harry at the same time, you know? Like, Harry's dad did a lot of very horrible things.
Yeah. Terrible
yeah,
stuff.
for sure.
And then here's their son who shows up after Harry's parents were essentially killed because of him, because Voldemort thought Harry was the child of the prophecy, you know? So in some ways, I think he also blames Harry for his
Right.
mother's death, who he was in love with.
Yeah.
And then
He for sure does.
yeah, and then here comes Harry to Hogwarts, and everybody kind of, for the most part, thinks he like walks on water.
Right.
And it just brings up all of these unhealed wounds for Snape. Like, oh, his father was a terrible person, but everybody loved him. And now here's his son kind of getting the exact same treatment and loving
Right.
it. You know, so it's why it kind of humanized Snape for me in the,
Yeah.
it all does kind of make sense when you really start to think about it.
Yeah, for sure. Because as we find out in this book, and maybe we got this reveal earlier too, but it's definitely apparent in this book where, you know, when we get the chapter titled "The Prince's Tale," and it's all of the flashbacks, it's all of the like Snape's memories that Harry is looking at, and Dumbledore and Snape are talking, and he's like, you know, Lily died protecting her son, like, and before that he was even saying, you know, Voldemort wants to kill the Potters, and I'm trying to like save Lily. And Dumbledore's like, what about the son? He's like, I don't care about the son. He's like, I'm just trying to save Lily.
Really.
And Dumbledore is kind of like, how dare you? Like, you would condemn the rest of the family to death as long as you get to save Lily. And he's like, fine, save all of them. I don't care. Like, I just care that Lily is safe.
But at the same time, then Dumbledore's willing to let Harry die to save everyone else. So
yeah, so that's
metal.
that I know. Yeah, that's kind of the big thing is like as we get further along, it's like Dumbledore needed Harry to die in a really specific way. Like, he didn't want Harry to die when he was a baby. He wanted Harry to die like later so that he could save everybody.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting because Snape is like, he's like, fine, like try to save everybody as long as Lily gets to live or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next flashback that we get is him coming back to Dumbledore's office, and he was like, you said that you'd try to save them all, like you said that you'd give them all protection if I helped you. And Dumbledore's like, she made a decision to, you know, give her own life for her son and cast this protection on him and all this stuff. And Snape is like, but Lily's gone. Like, he just can't comprehend.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care about the kid.
But it's like, are you going to spit on the like one final thing she did while she was living? The last choice she made?
Yeah. And that's a really interesting thing that Dumbledore says is like, he's like, you know, Harry has her eyes. You remember Lily's eyes, right? And Snape's like, yeah, I remember Lily's eyes. And he's like, you know, why don't you try to make sure that Lily didn't die in vain? And that, you know, you do this one thing to like protect her son. And he's like, well, all right, I guess. But he's like, he's bummed about Lily. And so it kind of creates this thing where he's like, you know, like you said, he's kind of resentful of Harry for being the reason that she gave up her life because she could have walked away. She could have given up her son to Voldemort and Voldemort would have let her walk. Um, but because she got in the way, she got killed. So it's just I think it's one of the most fascinating character studies, and it's why I've wanted to make a video on it for so long. Um,
I love
because you
the
get
actor that plays little Snape. I think he's so cute.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Adorable.
Yeah. Um yeah, I think it's just fascinating. I love everything that we learn about Snape and I love that I love that Rowling didn't really give us an answer. Like she didn't really give us like a good or bad answer. She kind of just gave us this really flawed person who isn't evil, but also isn't all the way good. And he's just kind of like in the middle, very morally gray, very like selfish, but you know, has his moments where he's not selfish. Um, it's just a very good character all around. I think it's probably it's hard for me to say he's like one of my most favorite characters in fantasy because I don't think he is, but I think that he is one of my favorite examples of a well-written character in fantasy, I think.
Yeah, it's realistic.
Yeah. So that was great for me. And then also, you know, we talked in the last episode about Harry on the road with Hermione and Ron. And I think those kind of turned me around on the final book and made me think, I'm like, is this my favorite book in the series? Like I just love them on the road together, like not at Hogwarts, just kind of going around and trying to save the world. I think it's
Having to
great.
figure it out themselves.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, they don't have Dumbledore to help them. They really don't have anybody to help them until they get a hold of the portrait of the previous headmaster, and they're like in the tent, and they pull the portrait out of the backpack, and they're able to talk to him and get some answers. But otherwise, they're like completely on their own.
That's when they like throw the blindfold on him, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they throw the blindfold on him. Yeah. So before we get talking about Dumbledore's big plan, do you do you guys have any sort of idea like where you would rank certain books? Like you don't have to rank the whole series, but do you have any idea of like what your top 3 or top 5 are?
Yeah, I mean, like Half-Blood Prince is probably my favorite. Half-Blood,
Yeah.
um, Goblet of Fire is up there. And Prisoner of Azkaban, I think those are probably like my top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked Prisoner of Azkaban.
Mm-hmm.
Goblet of Fire was super cool,
Mm-hmm.
but probably ask Prisoner of Azkaban, and then the last couple, part one and part two.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, man, I don't like maybe Deathly Hallows takes the number one spot. Like if like let's say that for me Deathly Hallows takes the number one, and then it would be Half-Blood Prince, and then it would be the first book because I think the first book holds like a really special place in my heart. Um and so I think it would be yeah, Deathly Hallows, Half-Blood Prince, and then the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone. Do
Hmm.
you guys have a least favorite? Do you know what would be your the one you enjoyed the least?
yeah, I'm honestly not sure.
I'm not sure. It would be the early ones. It would definitely be the early ones.
Probably agree.
Yeah, they were just a little young for me, you know. They I felt like they would have progressed really well if I'd read them when they originally came out. Like the books would have grown with me. But
Sure.
reading as an adult for the first time, the early ones were a little tougher to get through. The Mina Lima books definitely helped a lot with that. They made it really interesting. But I think without that, it would have been really hard for me to get through them.
That's so funny. I don't think I had any problems with the first with really any of the books as far as it feeling like a children's book or anything.
Hmm.
What about you, Gabe?
as far as the books
Least
feeling young or
no,
least
just like
favorite.
least favorite book.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could pin it down, but I would assume probably because I like the first book. What's the name of the second book? Is that the
Cha- that's Chamber of Secrets. That's where they
okay?
get into like
Yeah,
there's the serpent that's going through the
yep.
pipes and
And the book that
Oh, but I did like that. Yeah, that one was
yeah,
good.
yep. I like that one too.
for me my least favorite is Order of the Phoenix. And I've never been able to like really pin down why, but I think Umbridge is a really good villain for the book. Like I think she's a well-written villain,
Yeah, hater.
Mhm.
but I just like she makes the book so like not enjoyable for me.
Yeah,
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 little.
I
absolutely.
don't know why.
No, I'm like that with books, especially if it's a reread and not the first time through, so you already know how terrible they're going to be. And
Right.
having watched the movies, I knew how terrible she was, so it was even harder to read it. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
She is a good villain. I think she's probably like one of the most well-written villains in the series, but she just causes so much hell where it's like, okay, our characters aren't having fun anymore, and that's what I'm here for. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
gonna ruin any happiness.
right. Okay, so we went over our fun facts for the book on the last episode. So I don't really have any more to go through. But Gabe, did you look up
Yep,
box office results for part two?
yep. So domestically, 381 million and 1.342 billion worldwide. And in 2011, it was the highest grossing film of all time.
Wow,
Yeah, in 2011.
Wow.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
1.3 billion dollars worldwide. And in
Dang.
the first day that it came out, 170 million.
Wow. Wow. That's more than there was something that just came out recently um that had $100 million budget, or no, it had a $300 million budget, and in their first weekend they only got to 80 million.
Oh,
Um and
Oh,
so it's like movies nowadays aren't even hitting that.
yeah.
Like with
And
inflation and everything, is
yeah,
still not hitting it.
their production budget was 1.25, and so they made that and more just in one day.
Wait, their production budget was what?
125 million. Sorry, and they
Oh,
made
okay.
I was like,
170
what?
And they made it, yeah, they made it back within the first weekend. That's
in the first
nuts.
first day, first
In the
24
first
hours.
day. Oh my God.
Maybe it was Captain America.
Oh, that might have been it. Yeah, it was one of those Marvel type
Yeah.
movies.
Which I liked the new Captain America movie. I only went and saw it because my husband wanted to take our son, so we went one night at the place across from my work. It was just easy for me to walk over when I got out.
Mhm.
But it wasn't something that I was like, I need to see this movie in the theaters.
Right. Yeah.
I don't go to the movies like that often anymore, you know?
I
I don't
love
either.
I love going to the movies. I will go to the movies if there's a good movie out, but I just haven't like seen any good movies. Like I
Yeah.
just haven't seen anything come out that I'm remotely interested in.
No, and they've made so many
And
like, stinkers lately that it kind of like
yeah,
you lose your trust on like, ugh, is this worth it? Like to go? Should
right.
I wait?
Yeah, totally. And like the movie that I really wanted to see this month was Mickey 17 with Robert Pattinson, and he like it's like a sci-fi movie where he's like a clone that like keeps coming back,
Hmm.
and like they send him on like space missions, but he's basically expendable because he's a clone. And so he'll like go on a space mission and die, and then they'll just clone him again and send him on another space mission, so that they don't have to send their like real astronauts out to these missions.
Hmm.
That actually
Um,
sounds interesting.
Yeah, and it was based on a book, which apparently was really good. But the movie was like unanimously hated. Like
Oh,
everybody was like, "This movie sucks. Like it's so boring."
oh, it's Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, and people were saying the only good thing about the movie is Robert Pattinson. And so I'm like, man, that really sucks. Like that's the one movie I was really looking forward to. Um, but like I refuse to go see any new Marvel movies unless it's a Spider-Man movie. I just
Marvel's just been so disappointing for so long. I mean, ever since all the final like Avengers Endgame, Infinity Wars and Endgame, it's
Yes.
just been. uh, I'm looking at my no swearing. It's just been not good movie after movie. You know what I mean? And or like they're just like meh. Like
yeah,
especially when you know how much they spend on them,
Yeah.
it's just come on.
yeah.
You can do better than this. And yeah, I although I am excited that they announced, the new Marvel movies that will be coming out that'll bring us back to kind of like the Avengers time and whatnot. So I am excited potentially for those. But yeah, nothing has been that great. My husband keeps trying to put a Craven on the.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
Yep.
this is really boring. Why do you keep trying to make me watch this?
What is
Yeah.
Craven? Oh,
Craven.
Craven the Hunter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that one didn't seem good either.
no, it was not. It was not.
Yeah,
uh
Avengers Doomsday. That's cool. I didn't even realize that they
Yeah,
were in production for that.
yeah, that's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping I'm gonna wait for reviews, but yeah, I'm hoping it brings Marvel back to
yeah.
what it was.
Because that like Madam Web one, oh my god, that was the worst movie
So
in
bad.
so
So
long.
bad.
And
Oh
I'm
my
pretty
God.
like good, not good, like easy to please in the sense that like I'll be like, it's okay,
Sure.
Madam Web was horrific. It was
Yeah.
terrible.
So bad. So
So
bad.
Was
bad.
it a was that a movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Madam
Mm.
Web.
It was
It
like
was
Mm.
with Sydney Sweeney and Anne
yeah,
Hathaway.
it just made no sense. It made absolutely
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I do remember seeing
yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a commercial for that.
Yeah.
really
Well, the fun fact I did want to talk about, the one thing I was curious about with Deathly Hallows Part 2 is the epilogue where they jump like 19 years ahead. I think it's a really weird choice to like have those same actors be their adult selves. I'm like, I wish they had just hired, older actors like to play those parts. And I think the reason they didn't is because they wanted the audience to have like one final moment with, Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and I'm forgetting Ron's name, but
Rupert Grint.
Rupert Grint, thank you. I'm sure that they wanted fans to have that final goodbye with these actors that they've loved. But from like a filmmaking point of view and not like a super fan point of view, it's kind of like it's just a weird choice. Like they just don't look like super old. They look how they did, but just with like adult clothes
yeah,
on.
in those styles. Like that's it.
Yeah. So I wasn't able to find, I tried to do some Googling to see if there was any fun facts about making that epilogue. And I couldn't really find anything. So I hate using Chat GPT, but I went to Chat GPT and I was like, what can you tell me about the making of the epilogue? And so it dug a bunch of stuff up from across the internet. It says the challenge of aging the cast, prosthetics and makeup. The filmmakers used prosthetics, hair dye, and makeup to make the characters look older for the epilogue scene. The actors had to sit through long makeup sessions to add wrinkles, graying hair, and other aging effects. For example, Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson had to wear wigs and and special makeup was applied to create the illusion of their characters being 19 years older. Let's see, the team aimed to make the changes look realistic but not overly exaggerated, capturing the transition from the earlier parts of the series to this new chapter in their lives. The costume designer, Jani Tamim, worked to ensure that the clothes the characters wore in the epilogue reflected their personalities and statuses. For example, Hermione's clothes were elegant but still practical, fitting with her character's growth into a confident, authoritative figure in the wizarding world. Ron's outfit was a bit more casual, staying true to his down-to-earth nature. And then it says, small detail for Harry. Harry's outfit in the epilogue, especially his glasses, was chosen to reflect his character's maturity. The glasses he wore in the final scene were designed to look more streamlined and modern, marking a contrast to the more iconic round glasses from the earlier films. I wonder if I can look up a picture of this. Yeah, he's got they're still kind of round, but they're more of like an oval shape, if you guys can see that. I think
Yep.
that's kind of funny. Um, Although I don't think Chat GPT got it right with Ron's outfit. He doesn't look very casual. He looks like his dad. Like
Yeah.
they made him look like his dad. If anything, Ginny looks more casual.
Why the Harry Potter film epilogue never stood a chance.
I
That's funny.
should have read that. I should have pulled that one up. But yeah, I think they got it right with Hermione. Like she looks like elegant, but like, you know, she looks like herself. Like I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a good representation of the characters 19 years later, or do you think it's nightmare fuel?
I mean, I don't think it's nightmare fuel, but I just maybe back then they didn't have as good of ways of
Sure.
making somebody look old, especially with like CGI nowadays. You can basically do anything.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that Ron probably looks the best, like a little bit older, but then
Sure.
Harry and Hermione look the same, like
Yeah.
as they did. Especially Hermione, she doesn't look any different.
Right. Yeah, Hermione doesn't look any different. It looks like Daniel Radcliffe tried to like grow out a beard. Like, is that like 5 o'clock shadow that I'm
Looks
seeing?
like it, yeah.
Yeah.
How I
And
wonder
then
how old he was in the filming of the second part of Deathly Hallows.
yeah, could you Google that? That'd
Yep.
be interesting. And Ginny, I think Ginny kind of looks the worst.
Yeah, I
To
agree.
be honest. I think she's a very like pretty actress, but I think they just like did her no favors there.
Yeah, see, my problem with the epilogue wasn't any of that. It was more that I really cannot stand the trope of like everyone ending up with their first love from when they were like 12 years old.
Yeah.
It's so unrealistic to me. And in my head, I'm like,
Yeah.
well, they trauma bonded, so like that's why they're all still together.
Right.
That just bothered me. I think it's just
Sure.
so unrealistic.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
He was
So-
Okay.
21.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Let me see if ChatGPT has anything else to say. The scene was particularly emotional for Daniel Radcliffe as it marked the end of a journey that began when he was just a child. In interviews, Radcliffe has mentioned that the time jump was bittersweet as it felt like closing the final chapter, not just for Harry, but for him personally as well. It was an emotional moment for all the actors involved as they were essentially saying goodbye to the characters that they'd portrayed for over a decade. And I think that that's something that's really interesting to consider because we talked about in the Half-Blood Prince where they almost didn't do that movie because they were worried about being typecast. But at that point, it's like, sorry, you are. Like, at this point, like, you are typecast. Like, you're already there.
Yeah.
People would
And
hate you if you left the series.
yeah, and you'd be hated.
Yeah, like just finish it.
Right.
And Radcliffe, I think, has said it best, where he did it all, and because of all the money he made, he was then able to take on any role he wanted after, regardless of if he thought it was going to make money or not. He was able to like cherry pick ones he really wanted to do because the money didn't really matter to him anymore.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, it had to be tough after, like, even just saying goodbye to your co-stars. It's like,
Mhm.
we've been together for like all of our childhood, all of our teenage years. Like if he was 21 in the filming of Deathly Hallows Part 2, they've been friends
For a decade.
through, yeah, and that is such like a formative time in your life, that had to be extremely difficult. I wonder if they all still, stay in contact and stuff. um the last thing I have about the epilogue here is the reaction from fans. While many fans appreciated the epilogue, some were initially taken aback by the aging makeup and the time jump, especially with how Harry and his friends looked. Nevertheless, it provided a sense of finality for the long-running saga. Some fans were emotional seeing their beloved characters as parents, while others were just happy to see everything turn out well. And yeah, I think, with the, and it even says here that at the time that this movie was made, the epilogue was kind of a technical achievement, as far as like aging technology.
Yeah.
Nowadays it would be a lot better, but at the time it was like the very, very best you could do in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. So Dumbledore's big plan is basically, we went over some of this in the last episode, but Dumbledore's big plan is kind of revealed in this part of the book. And this is the thing, we had somebody on the podcast a while ago, for one of our very early Potter Watch episodes. It was before we even started like going through the actual books. And we had somebody who was like, Dumbledore didn't have a plan. Like, there is no like secret plan of Dumbledore's. And I'm like, I would read Deathly Hallows again because it's pretty like cut and dry that he had like a secret plan this entire time. And this guest, and then I think the other guest like fed off of that and was like, oh yeah, Dumbledore didn't. And so I had two people telling me that there was no plan from Dumbledore and that everything kind of just played out the way it did.
But look at the whole book where he won't speak to Harry because he's nervous.
Right.
No, he had a plan.
Right. And that's what I was saying. I'm like, and I was starting to doubt myself. I was like, wait, did I like completely misunderstand?
Gaslit,
dude.
I was getting gaslit. And I was like, wait, did I completely misunderstand that final book? Like, am I misunderstanding this?
No.
And then I was like, no, like he for sure, like he reveals it all to Snape. And so
concrete, like A, B, C, D, E, to
right.
Z. It's going to be this, just check it off my list. But like overall, there were multiple steps to his plan.
Yeah,
right.
And him telling Snape, like when Voldemort keeps his snake close to him and keeps it under, even says it keeps it under magical barrier. Like that's when Harry needs to know,
right,
everything. And I was like, there's a plan right there. That's a plan,
right? Yeah, there's the plan.
That he made years ago.
Years ago.
There's literally a book dedicated to Dumbledore ignoring Harry because he knows that if he accidentally says something, it could change the whole course of what he has planned.
Right. So yeah, there's everything that he reveals to Snape, which is basically like, he explains the protection that was on Harry and that he needs to be the one to die. And we'll talk about this scene specifically later, but even Snape gets upset. He's like, wait, you've been raising him like a lamb for slaughter.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what you've been doing. And Dumbledore doesn't really respond. He says like, "Well, how many people have you killed, Snape?" And he's like, "No one recently." And so it's like it's kind of this non-answer where, I think two things can be true at the same time, because the guest we had on before basically said that they couldn't agree that Dumbledore had this plan, because then it would put a really sinister bent to Dumbledore. And they're like, Dumbledore is like this kind wizard who like loves Harry, and if you're saying that he had this big plan, then that would make him like really sinister. And I'm like, that is what I've been telling everybody. I think if you read these books as a kid, you'd kind of have this idea that Harry Potter is a story of good guys and bad guys. And reading it as an adult, it's just not the case. Like it's not like there are themes of that, like the themes of love and bravery and courage and like good things that you should aspire to be. But I don't think really anybody in these books is like very morally black and white. Like even Harry himself, he's on this quest to kill Voldemort, and in the middle of it, he's making tons of like morally questionable mistakes where he tells Ron to kick rocks. There's like an entire book where he's like mad at Ron and Hermione the entire book, and like is not nice to them in any way, and is making like really questionable decisions. And it's like, and then when you look at Dumbledore, he's just as morally gray as Snape is. Like he's literally like this whole time, he's had this master plan to get Harry to where he needs to be, and like you could say manipulate him in certain ways to get him to a point where he is willingly sacrificing himself for the good of everybody else. Like Dumbledore isn't able to just throw him to the wolves. He needs to cultivate Harry's emotional response to dying. And that's what he's doing for 6 or 7 books. So it's like he's got like a sinister master plan, but I think two things can be true at the same time. It can be true that Dumbledore sees this master plan that he needs to make for the good of all of wizard kind, but also along the way love Harry. Like I believe that Dumbledore loves Harry.
Both things can be true, and I think Dumbledore's story also very much what's the word I'm looking for? Dumbledore, it works for Dumbledore that we're not getting any of his POVs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If we were getting Dumbledore's point of view, it would be obvious the whole time what his plan was and what the end game was going to be for him. So he makes out well because we don't get his point of view, and he's really not in the books that much. You know what I mean? Like he kind of just shows up every once in a while because
he's really mysterious.
Yeah, doing all these other things. So people only look at it as like, oh, Dumbledore's like this father figure for Harry. He only wants what's best for Harry. And it's like, yeah, through the tiny, scope of looking at it from the way we were given, sure. But once you know what you know, you realize that if we had been given the full real story, you wouldn't have felt that way all along. But both things can be true.
Yeah.
Dumbledore can love Harry while still knowing that at the end of the day, Harry's sacrifice is what would save them all. It's just...
Yeah. And it also like parallels a lot of things like in the Bible too. Like what is it? Abraham, is it like Abraham and Isaac where Abraham like has this son that he loves, and then God through like a vision or something tells Abraham that he has to sacrifice his son for the good of everybody else. And so like he takes his son to the top of the mountain and he's like about to sacrifice him, and then God tells him like, okay, like you've proven your you've proven like your trust in me. It's been a long time since
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
read the
that's
Bible.
pretty much how it happens.
Yeah. But it's like it's a similar thing where it's like, yeah, Dumbledore like loves Harry, and he certainly loved the Potters. Like he loved Lily and James, and they were all in the order together and everything. But he also knows that if Voldemort takes control, it will be hell on earth. Like it will be like not just for wizard kind, but for the muggles, for everybody. And so he's having to make the tough choice of sacrificing this person that he's come to love and respect and care for. And it doesn't make him evil. It means that it's a difficult decision, right?
It reminds me of Farseer, which I won't ruin in any way, but it is
Thank
very,
you.
very parallel to a theme in Farseer where when you really put yourself in the position of the person who's making these hard choices, you see that all the options are probably going to suck. And so you really, if you're in a leadership position, you kind of have to try to pick the one that while it may gain you the best results, it's going to step on some people along the way. And that's the way of life.
Yep, that's
It
the way.
is what it is.
Right, right.
Like, what would the other option be? To nurture Harry and then just let him run off and run away because Harry was scared and didn't want to deal with Voldemort, and then everybody else just suffered forever because
Right.
of it?
Yeah, what's the other option? Yeah.
Exactly.
There isn't one.
It's the big picture thing. And, if you're the person in charge of making those big picture decisions, yeah, not everyone's going to understand every decision you have to make.
Right, right. One of my favorite parts of Dumbledore's big plan, and I think I like it so much because it's such a big thing in the Dresden Files, is that, and kind of in a very different way, but similar. But Dumbledore needs Harry to walk into the forest to die of his own will. He can't do it under duress. He can't do it like by accident. Like Dumbledore needs Harry to grow into the kind of person that would willingly sacrifice himself for everybody else. Otherwise, the magic won't work. Like the magic that will save everybody and like kill the Horcrux and possibly save Harry, it just won't be effective if he doesn't do it of his own volition. Um, and so I love all of the steps that get Harry to that point, that make him into the kind of man that willingly sacrifices himself for his friends. And we see early seeds of this in the first book where Harry is like, he meets Ron on the train, and Ron's like, oh yeah, we don't really like have any money. And Harry, in his point of view, is like, well, I could just like give these people money. Like I could just like, he's
Yeah.
like, if
He's
they
got
would
a ton of
only,
it.
yeah, he's like, if they would only accept it, he's like, I'd give them like half my money.
Yeah, you wanted to
And
do it for the Weasleys.
yeah. And so it's like he's already kind of like a selfless person, and so we see him grow little by little into this person, and part of that is things like in the second book where Dumbledore hires Lockhart to be a teacher to show Harry what happens if you lose that humility, if you lose that selfless nature. This is the kind of person that you turn into. And so
Well,
I just
he gives George and his
Fred.
brother Fred
Yeah.
start their joke shop.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I
Yeah.
want this, like you take it, and yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I loved the whole road to Harry becoming that kind of person, and it made it because we got all of those little stepping stones.
Mhm.
It made the scene where he's walking into the forest and he's scared, and he's like he calls upon his family and his friends, and like he's scared but he's gonna do it, and it just made it so much more poignant, and it was just such a fantastic scene. Speaking of which, Dumbledore knew Harry would need a last bit of confidence to confront Voldemort. He didn't want Harry chickening out at the last minute, which is why he gave him the Resurrection Stone to give him a little bit of comfort in his final moments. And so we see Harry open up the snitch and find the stone and call upon his parents, which we'll talk about later because it made me cry so much. But he also knew that Ron would probably do something stupid and get separated from Hermione and Harry. So he gave him the Deluminator to find his way back.
Which I loved that it took him so much longer to find them because, they had hidden themselves so well that
I know, yeah.
I think they'd give themselves away in a way that he could then find them. So he'd been following them forever, but then he does find Harry at just the right moment,
Yeah.
So that was meant to be as well. And something I thought about a lot during this was the fate of how they all became friends, the three of them. And could any other group of him with other friends, if he had made them, if he had made it through station 9 3/4, platform 9 3/4 in the beginning on his own and didn't need the Weasleys, would he have met them? Would he have ended up in Gryffindor? That was very much in the back of my mind the whole time, along with, wow, if you guys didn't have Hermione, you would have been
screwed.
Yep.
Yeah. For real, yeah. It kind of makes you wonder if he would have been able to do any of this without them.
I mean, Ron even says at one point, or it might have just been in the movies, I can't remember if it was in the book, where he's like, Harry just wants to leave and go do it. And Ron is like, are you kidding me? We won't last a day without Hermione. And
right.
I'm like, yes, you will not.
Right. Yeah. It makes you wonder, and it's kind of like... even Dumbledore recognizes this fact. That's why he told Harry asked him in Half-Blood Prince, he's like, can I tell Ron and Hermione? And up to this point, Dumbledore has not let him reveal anything. And he says, yes, tell Ron and Hermione so that they can help you. Because I think even Dumbledore recognizes the fact that they are a huge part of why Harry has been successful.
Yeah. Was it
They're
fate?
the glue.
Yeah, they're the glue. Dumbledore knew that Hermione would become obsessed with a puzzle and finding a hidden riddle type thing in Beetle the Bard. So he gave her the book and hid the symbol of the Deathly Hallows in it.
Yep.
And so that's how they found out about that, because he knew that she couldn't step away from a riddle like that.
Yep.
But if they hadn't seen Luna's dad with the necklace, would they have put it together?
I don't think so. Well, I don't know. Maybe they would have figured it out another way, but it was certainly the necklace that did it.
Yeah.
So then Dumbledore intended Snape to be the master of the Elder Wand by having Snape kill him when it came to it. And we see this in one of the flashbacks where he's like, Draco is going to be given this task, but I want you to do it so that you can, become the master of the Elder Wand. And I think the intended plan, because I don't think that Dumbledore didn't plan on Draco being the one to disarm him. I think the original plan was for Snape to kill Dumbledore to then become master of the Elder Wand, and then he wanted Snape's portrait to tell Harry, or no, that's a different thing. He wanted Snape to antagonize Harry to the point where they dueled, and Harry killed Snape and became the master of the Elder Wand. And that's kind of there's nothing concrete in the books that says that. It's just a theory that's kind of going around, as that was probably his original intention. And he didn't intend for Draco to disarm him and then for Harry to disarm Draco. But yeah, I think that was kind of the intended plan there. he also intended for Snape to become headmaster because that gives him unique access to the Sword of Gryffindor. And even tells Snape, should I fall, I have your word that you will do everything in your power to protect the school and its students. And Snape nods, meaning that, even after I die, like you're protecting these kids. And Snape is like, yeah, like I will. Um, so that's kind of where all that ends. We know how everything ends up with the conclusion of the plan. Um, and this book is where we get the big reveals. It's not really like a theory anymore. It's like it's pretty much right there on the page. So I don't really want to go like scene by scene by scene, but there is a couple interesting things at the beginning here that are just kind of they're just interesting to the world in general. So we get all this stuff with like Grip Hook. This is right after Dobby's funeral. We get all this stuff with Grip Hook where so he's a goblin, right? And the way that it gets explained to us is that goblins understand ownership of things very differently than humans do. So if somebody buys something from a goblin, it's even if they pay full price for it, it's considered like renting. Like
Yeah.
that, like that's not like they don't own that thing now. Like the goblin still owns it, but they are giving it to this person for a time, for a certain amount of money. And then it's expected that when that person dies, it goes back to the goblin. Or if somebody were to buy it from that person, the money wouldn't go to the person that bought it from the goblin. The money would go to the goblin. Like they would be paid in addition when it moves to a new person, which is really interesting. And I think it's a really cool way of like just looking at this fantasy race. It's like a very alien way of understanding how ownership works. And
Hmm.
I think it's pretty cool that she kind of built that into the lore. Um, and we get the whole thing where, the grip hook wants the sword and eventually he steals it away from them. But it's interesting because when they break into the vault and eventually get the cup and all that stuff, Grip Hook runs off with the sword, so they don't have anything to kill a Horcrux with anymore. Um, but the sword comes back through the Sorting Hat. So it's like, did Grip Hook just like have it, and then all of a sudden it vanished and it went to Neville?
You
You
see that
know?
in the movie. You see it in the movie that, yeah, that's what happens because when Grip Hook gets killed by Voldemort, when he's really upset that he finds out they got into the vault, you see Grip Hook is dead on the ground and it vanishes from his hand.
Wait, does Grip Hook die in the book too?
I don't remember, but he dies in the movie and you see him with it in his hand and it vanishes.
Oh, interesting. Cause did they like capture Grip Hook or something?
I assumed he just went back, like he was one of Voldemort's minions, essentially.
Oh, I never got the vibe that he was like a minion of Voldemort. I thought he was like a neutral party.
But yeah, he's there when Voldemort finds out that they got into what's her
The
name's
vault.
vault. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was a different goblin.
Yeah, I thought that was like Ollivander or something
No, because
that they
no,
kill.
it's no, because I remember just reading it. He's like questioning like how did they how did they get in here? But I thought it was the goblin that walked them in because Griphook was hiding on Harry's back under the cloak, and there was a goblin the goblin that asked Beatrix, can we see your wand? I thought it was
Yeah.
him that died,
It could be.
but I'm not 100%, so I could be totally
Yeah,
wrong.
I'm pretty
let's
sure he's Grip Hook, at least in the movie.
did Grip Hook die? Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes, Griphook was killed by Voldemort after the Gringotts break-in, as he had betrayed Harry and his friends, and the goblins had failed to protect the Hufflepuff's cup. Um, Let me put in the book just to be sure.
Yeah, I
Did
can't
Griphook
remember
die?
positively in the book. I remember Voldemort kills a ton of people after, but I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he kind of
yeah,
goes on a rampage.
it's the same thing in the book
Huh,
as the movie.
Mhm.
interesting.
Um,
And that was the
Interesting.
first
yeah,
I ever noticed that on this
Yeah.
movie
that's
today.
funny.
Was that Griphook was one of the people who dies, and the sword is in his hand, and it just slowly vanishes.
Mm,
Okay,
And
interesting.
I took that as the sword has no owner. The sword decides always who they want to
yeah.
have it, or if they think somebody else needs it more,
Well,
it
I
goes
thought,
Right.
I
here.
thought the whole kind of point of the Godric Gryffindor's sword was it kind of went to who was brave and who needed it, right?
Right.
That's kind of
Yeah.
like where its spirit, you know,
Yeah.
its domain. That's what it does.
It was kind of like its own sentient being at
Yeah.
that point.
Right.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the vibe I always got as well.
Yeah, but that was the first time I caught that he had it in his hand and it slowly disappeared. And I was like, oh, that's how they end up with it later.
That's pretty cool. I'm glad you caught that because I definitely did not. So that's cool. Oh yeah, we get an interesting note about Voldemort. Harry gets a vision where all that is happening. You know, Voldemort kills Griphook, and um, you know he's really upset about how the trio had found the cup and everything. And in his like inner monologue, um, it says, who else could know where the cup was? He alone had plumbed the deepest secrets of that place, meaning Hogwarts. And this goes back to like his ego and arrogance, because I think we were talking in the last one. It's like, well, other people have seen the room of requirement, but in Voldemort's head, he's like,
He's the only
he's
person that could have ever figured it out. He is the smartest and the most cunning,
right, yeah.
which
Um,
he's just blinded, so blinded by that.
right, right. Um, I do love the scene where the trio is running away from Death Eaters and they go into the Hog's Head, and Aberforth like sticks his head out and they're like, "We saw a stag," and he's like, "It's a goat, you idiots!" And
Yeah.
like Cassius Patronus is like this goat. They're like, "I saw a stag," and he's like, "A stag? It's a goat, you moron!" Just like making fun of him. I was like, "Yes, give me more of this." But we also see that he's got the mirror. So this is where the other side of the mirror ended up. And we've been seeing his eye in the mirror, and it looks a lot like Dumbledore's because they're brothers.
Yeah.
Um,
And props to their casting because they look like they could be brothers.
right. Yeah, exactly. Was this a big revelation for you, Sam? Did you get any more context out of this scene in the book? Do you know?
No, I would say I got enough from the movie initially that it really wasn't that makes more sense now in any way.
Right, right. I thought it was really interesting that Aberforth has a painting of his sister, and
Mm-hmm.
that's like a magical painting of her. Like we see her like walk down the hallway to go get Neville.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's kind of like, oh, like he loved his sister so much that he's actually got her there as like a ghost portrait thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. The portraits in general are a very interesting phenomenon to me.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's really, really cool. We find out about everything that happened with Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and basically, she had a condition where she she was attacked at an early age for being different, and so she didn't want to use her magic, and she kind of set it aside and bottled it up, and it kept coming out in all of these really unpredictable ways.
Mhm.
Um, and it kind of like drove her crazy and made her really uncontrollable and kind of spawned this whole new like magical condition. And you know, their father had gone after the boys who attacked her, and he ended up in Azkaban for it. And then Grindelwald, Aberforth, and Dumbledore all got into kind of like a mini battle when they were arguing, and they don't know whose spell did it, but one of the three people there, one of their spells hit Ariana and killed her. And it's kind of cool because we just like don't get an answer. We just don't get to find out whose spell hit her. You know what I mean?
Because I think at the end of the day, it didn't really matter.
Right.
Definitely. I mean, and I think it's a common theme in a lot of like books and magical shows where if you bottle up your magic, bad things are eventually going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say one thing from the movie that I really loved is when they're on the train to the school and they stop the train because they want to, Voldemort's people want to check if like Harry's on the train.
Yeah.
And he stands up and is like, "Hey, stupid, he's not here."
Right. Yeah.
I loved that part. It was such a minor like line, like, "Hey, stupid, he's not here," but
Right. It's so great.
Yeah.
We see a lot of the dark arts flying around in this book. Like Harry like Crucio's someone, he Imperius is someone, McGonagall Imperius is the Caro's sister. And I'm like, dang, I'm like, man, when everything's on the line, these characters are willing to dip into the dark arts a little bit.
Yeah, they kind of just said, nope, we're not going to follow that rule no more.
Yeah, like, gloves off, like, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually, interestingly enough, made me think of Manacled, the fanfic that I read where Harry and them are obviously fighting Voldemort and everything, and they're unwilling to use dark curses. They're like, we're not going to stoop to their level. And Hermione the whole time is like, we are going to lose.
Yeah.
Like, do you not understand? Like, they are not playing fair. And if we try to win this in a fair way, we will lose. There is no winning. We need to use dark curses or we are done for.
Right.
So it was nice to see that, at least in the regular movies, they had no qualms about that.
Right, for sure. Have you read all of those Senlin Yu Manacled books?
On the last one still. I had to take a break for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Break for a little bit.
What did you guys think of the return of Percy after all this time?
I thought it was good. I was glad that he came back and kind of realized,
got a little bit of a redemption.
Yep, got a little bit of a redemption.
Yeah.
It's good. I think it was good for that whole family.
Yeah.
Especially with, the loss of Fred.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just really hated Percy. He was very high horse all of the time. And, when people are willing to just forget their family who hasn't deserved it in the way that Percy did, there wasn't really much coming back for me with him. So, I mean, it's great that he did, but at the same time, like, okay.
Yeah. I think the reason why I like the scene, I think it's less about Percy and it's more about like Molly and Arthur Weasley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he comes back and he's like, I'm so sorry. It's like, I've been such a fool. Like, I can't believe like what I've done. And you see the love of a mother and a father accepting their son back. I mean, like, think about, your kids, Sam, if they ever did something that was like awful to you and then came back later, like how quickly would you forgive them? It would be pretty much instantaneously, And so sure. I think it's like I think it says more about
the parent.
Like Percy sucks, but like I think if you look at Molly and Arthur Weasley and just how quickly they're like, instead of like arguing or anything, they're just like, oh, thank God you're back. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's why I like the scene so much.
Yeah.
So arguably the most important parts of the book, not really. Ron has figured out that a basilisk fang would kill a Horcrux, because now they don't have the sword anymore, so they're trying to figure out how do we do this. And in this,
that for the notebook.
Yeah.
right.
Yes. Okay.
Right. And in the stupidest plot convenience in the entire series, Ron is able to go up to the Chamber of Secrets and mock whisper like he's speaking in parcel tongue, and it opens for him. And Harry even asks, he's like, how'd you do it? And he's like, I just went kashar, 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 kashar. He's like, that's what you did. And it opened for me. And Harry's just like, oh, dang, that worked, huh? Okay. And it's like, I'm like, dude, no, that's not how that works. Like, parcel tongue is like a magical, like, speaking in tongues kind of thing. Like, it's not like a language that you can learn.
Well, to me, even if it's just a language, like if I heard somebody speaking, say, Arabic, and I tried to immediately mimic it, let alone so much later, I'm not even come close.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was kind of like, all right, like, they needed a way to kill the Horcrux. They needed something that would do it. Harry was busy. Ron needed his moment to shine. So that's why she had him go to the chamber. But there could have been, like, literally anything. Ron could have been like, I found a Slytherin on my way to the Chamber of Secrets, and they knew parcel tongue.
So I made them come with me. Yeah. Yeah,
it's like you could have literally... There could have been anything other than Ron making it up as he goes along.
Yeah, and I think Ron had also just had a great redemption moment saving Harry,
Right.
That it wasn't even necessary to be this redeeming moment for him.
Right. Yeah. It was just odd. I was like, okay. I'm like, all right, whatever we need to get to the end, I guess.
Yeah.
But Hermione is very impressed with this. She says multiple times, like, he was brilliant.
I'm sorry, but like, I guess it's like a scraping the bottom of the barrel to me type of thing. Like, Ron has done so little that it's like, oh, this is amazing.
Yep. And that is exactly my point with this next note. Ron just barely advocates for house elves, saying that they should, he's like, we should go tell the house elves. And Harry's like, oh yeah, so they can fight for us? And he's like, no, so they can get out of here and run away. And for whatever reason, this gets Hermione completely soaked, and she jumps on Ron and just starts making out with him. And I'm like, really? I'm like, that's all it took, huh? Is Ron saying, hey, maybe the house elves shouldn't die. And that's enough for Hermione to be like, oh my God, you're the one for me. Like, when I read it this time, I was like, wait, what? I don't remember it being that stupid of a reason. And it's just
also that we can say, like, Hermione got completely soaked, but we can't swear.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's probably more inappropriate than saying a swear word.
I agree, but YouTube picks up on very particular words, and it doesn't care if we say soaked.
Got it. All right. Note taken. I'm going to add it to my little notepad.
Yeah. Can say soaked.
Can say soaked. Got it.
But I do love Harry's reaction to this, because they are like going at it, and Harry says, just in this really quiet voice, I can picture it in my head, where they're like on top of each other, and he just says, is this the moment? uh, guys, like, like, is this the time? Like, I can appreciate you guys finally figuring this out, but literally a wall just exploded and Ron's brother died. Like,
Yeah.
is this the time?
Time and place.
So yeah, I thought that was super funny. I was like, the moment right before it is like one of the biggest plot conveniences in the entire series, and then the next one is just Ron just barely reaching the bar and making Hermione go crazy over it. Like,
Yep.
okay.
I mean, when you look at Ron in general, the bar is just very low.
It's so low.
Which I think in a lot of ways
Is the point.
you know, she's like, I'm really probably not going to find someone as smart as I am anyway. So why not find a man who's going to be just so dependent on me?
Right, yeah. Oh, it's so true. So true. So then we get the diadem. We get the big fire. It was a specific kind of fire.
Fiend fire.
Fiend fire, yeah. And it's a very specific curse that is hot enough to kill a Horcrux.
Yep.
And so I don't even remember how they figured out that it was in the room of requirement.
Harry had like an epiphany at some point where he said, "Listen, I know." He remembered something or saw a vision. I think it's when he was like seeing Voldemort talking about the deepest, darkest places of this place.
Oh yeah,
because he was in his head for that moment, and then he like
right.
realized like, I know where it is. I know where the diadem is.
Well, I thought it was interesting how they meet Rowena Ravenclaw's ghost, and she's like, no, like, this is not happening. And then when they say, we want to destroy it, is when she says, oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
Well, I thought that was really interesting.
That was interesting, because I think she feels so much guilt over it. She feels like, because she like stole it and all this other stuff happened, and I think she's like, yeah, let's get rid of it. That finally did it, because even Harry says, he's like, I'm sure that Dumbledore has asked her where the diadem is, and she wasn't willing to tell him. But Dumbledore also probably never told her that he wanted to destroy it. So yeah, it was a pretty cool moment there. But we get Crabbe dying, and we get more vocabulary out of him than we have this entire series, where he's actually kind of a psychopath would be too strong of a word, maybe, but he's not like a good guy. He's not some like dumb thug. He's like, let's just kill Harry Potter and Voldemort will like us. Who cares about the diadem? And Draco is at least being smart about it. He's like, think. He's like, if Harry Potter was, he's like, so far Harry Potter hasn't done anything that wasn't like extremely intentional. So if he's coming here for the diadem, there's a reason, and we should figure out why he's after the diadem so that we can then use that to our advantage. And Crabbe is like, who cares? Let's kill everybody here. Fiend fire, and just whoosh, and like everything blows up. And I just love, this scene is so cool because they're racing a wall of fire on their brooms. And I love the moment where Harry's like, he sees Draco and he's like, dang it, and he like reaches down and like grabs Draco and pulls him onto the broom. It was such a good moment where he's like, I can't kill Draco. He's like, as awful of a person as he is, like, I can't kill Draco.
Because he was a product of his upbringing, you know what I mean? It's not, I think Harry in a lot of ways is like, oh well, what if those were my parents and I had grown in Draco's life, you know? He's able to like put aside his personal differences with him and say, he had the bad end of the stick. Truly, I mean, I never felt as bad for Draco until I read the Manacled books. But
Oh, that's funny.
they put it in a perspective for me of like, oh, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I'm really dissatisfied with these last couple books is no like real redemption arc for Draco. Like the epilogue tells us that Draco is like a better person now and that him and Harry are on good terms. But I would have liked to have seen that. And I think we get little moments, where Draco realizes that he's in over his head and that, siding with the Death Eaters probably isn't a good idea. But I would have loved a real, like, redemption arc moment where, like, Harry is about to fall off the side of the castle and Draco, like, grabs him and pulls him back up and just kind of, like, gives him a little nod and then runs away or something. Like, even that would have been, like, a great moment where it's like, okay, all right. Or like in the final battle, if Draco had like I don't know, like thrown Harry his wand or something. Like if he had done something that like defied Voldemort, there would have been like there could just even like the littlest tiniest thing could have been enough for me to be like, okay, he had his small redemption arc. But I really feel like he gets absolutely shafted as far as like a character arc goes.
I have a cool kind of behind the scenes fact that I learned recently. And
Oh, cool.
I don't know if you guys would know if you're not watching the newest season of White Lotus.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm not.
the
I
guy
haven't
who's
seen it.
like a main character in White Lotus is played by the actor who played Malfoy's father, right?
Oh.
Yeah, he's like one of the main characters in the new White Lotus season, and he did an interview recently where he said that when he auditioned for the part of Lucius Malfoy, what they pictured for Lucy, it's such a hard
Lucius.
Lucius.
his father, they envisioned it as like a guy in a suit with a short cut hair, and like that was it. And
Oh.
he was the one who said, what? No, like this guy thinks he's better than muggles. Like, no, I think he would have long hair. I think he'd be in like a cape. I think
Yeah.
like a cane that he hides his wig in. So when he auditioned, he went into the outfits department and he said, do you have a cape? And they were like, no, we don't. And he was like, well, can I take that curtain? And they're like,
Oh, wow.
okay. And he's like, do you have like a blonde long wig? And they're like, not really. And like grabbed the crappiest wig that they had that was what he wanted and a cane. And he went and auditioned and he was like, I looked ridiculous. He was like, I looked really ridiculous because it wasn't what I was looking for, but it was close enough that like I thought they would get the hint. And so he went in, he explained, he goes, no. He thinks he's better than muggles. He's not going to dress like muggles. He's going to be in this cape because that's what wizards wear. And he's going to this cane that he hides his wand in. So that was fully the actor's interpretation that gave us the Lucius Malfoy that we saw in the movie.
That's so
cool.
Isn't that
That's
crazy?
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great. I love that. I love
it wasn't even close to how they wanted him to be portrayed in the movies. He came up with that all on his own.
And I think it worked so well because he's so intimidating in the movies. Like he really has a presence for sure.
Yeah, so
I remember seeing
news for White Lotus and that came out in it. He was like, no, that was me.
That's cool. I remember
seeing a video about him and Daniel Radcliffe during filming, and apparently that, I don't know his name, but the guy that plays him is like just unreasonably kind, like just a very nice guy. And so there's a scene where he has to poke Harry with his cane. Yeah. And so like Daniel, like they show a clip of like the behind the scenes of them filming that, and he has to poke Harry pretty hard, right? It's got to look real. Right. So he pokes him really hard, and the second as they call scene, he's like, "Are you okay? Was that too hard? Are you right?"
Oh,
like, what a nice guy, dude.
That's so precious.
Yeah,
he really
pretty
is.
Cool.
I love that. I love that. So as we race towards the end here, we get a whole side of the castle that blows up and Fred dies. And this is a brutal moment. This moment I was like, no way. This was like the first like main character besides Sirius that she had killed. And it was like, oh my God, like he's gone, like he's dead. And it's just brutal. It's like such a terrible moment. But it's really cool that she committed to that, to writing that, because that takes some guts to kill such
Yeah.
a main character like that.
Yes.
I love the quote, Harry is kind of like mentally describing the way that Fred looks. He's like, his eyes were unseeing, and the ghost of his last laugh still etched upon his face. And it kind of like tells you, like, he looked in death how he looked in life. Like he kind of had this smirk all the time, and you could just like barely see it in his death pose. I think that's really cool. And then we get a really cool quote. I don't think I kind of have the quote here. My note is that Harry internally remarks that the whole world had stopped. Why had the battle not ceased? The battle ended and why had the battle not ceased? The battle ended and everyone looking on in horror. And I think this is such an interesting little note because it's so true. When something tragic happens to us, when there's like a big upheaval in our life, it kind of feels to us like the rest of the world needs to stop and give us a minute. And that's how it feels for them in this moment. It's like the unthinkable just happened. Why is everybody not shocked? Why is everybody not like, oh my God, Fred just died, and like lay down their weapons and take like a moment of silence? Because that's how it feels. It feels like that should happen.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the world is going on around you and nothing is stopping. And, everything is just continuing on. And I just found this like so fascinating because I recently got laid off at the beginning of March, and I ended up finding some work later, but there was a good like 2 or 3 weeks where I didn't know where I was going to work. And I'm like super broke at the moment. And it really feels like, I had worked there for almost 3 years. And then when I got laid off, I was like, well, yeah, like everything else should just pause. Like rent payment should pause. Like utility should pause. Like, all these bills that are still coming in. It's like, just give me a moment to breathe, but the world doesn't give you that moment because nothing caters to your tragedy. And so I just found this really, really interesting. I thought it was really cool that she put it in there like that because it's just so true to life.
It really is. It really is. I mean, like, it's like when my dad died, it was like,
Yeah.
I need everything to stop for a moment. I can't take out anything new, and the world just keeps going and throwing
Yep.
crap at you. So, that felt like a very true to real life moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
They try to get into the Whomping Willow, and we get a cool like little Easter egg, a little throwback to the very first book. They're trying to get into the Whomping Willow, and Ron says, "If only we had Crookshanks here," because Crookshanks was the one that like ran into the willow and was able to hit the button that made it stop like flailing about. And Hermione says, "Crookshanks, are you a wizard or what?" And this is what Ron said to Hermione in the very first book when they fall down the shaft and all the vines are wrapping around them. And she says, "I wish we had a torch because then we could set the vines on fire." And Ron says, "Are you a wizard or what?" And she's like, oh yeah, and uses her magic to burn the vines. And so I thought it was like, is such a tiny thing, but I think it's a really, really cool throwback to like that one of those really, really early scenes. I think that's so cool. It's very, very awesome. So then we get Snape's memories. Voldemort kills Snape because he thinks that'll make him the master of the Elder Wand. And as Snape is dying, he hands his memories to Harry and he says, "Take it. Look at me." And it's this moment where like Harry's like overjoyed that Snape is dead, but as soon as he sees these memories, he's gonna wish that he wasn't.
Yeah.
It's such a good scene. So I want to go through these memories, and then that kind of goes right into the end of the book.
Yeah, I gotta go slightly soon, like in the next minutes.
In the next what?
Like 20 minutes.
Okay, yeah, we're good on that. Okay, so Snape's memories are, in my opinion, one of the best chapters in all of fantasy. I think it's one of the best reveals, one of the most well planned reveals, because the series takes you on such a ride with Snape and it makes you hate him so much.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the revelation of these memories don't make him a good person, it helps you understand who he is and like why he did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see Snape befriending Lily and falling in love with her, but he kind of shuns Petunia, like when they're hanging out on their own and Petunia is like behind a bush or whatever. He's like, "I see you spying on us," and he like calls her a bunch of names and stuff, and she like runs off. And it upsets Lily. And it makes me wonder, like, I wonder what would have
with Petunia.
what's that?
Did he set in motion Petunia's hatred for anything magical?
I think he totally did, and I kind of wonder what would have happened if he had been nicer to her and included her on like the hangouts and everything. She probably would have become a very different person and wouldn't have felt so excluded. And we also see some interesting information that shows that she wrote to Hogwarts and was trying to get in herself. And Dumbledore replied like really kindly, and he was like, "I'm so sorry, but like," he's like, "you're not a wizard. Like, I don't have anything for you to do at this school." And it's just kind of funny, like in the present day, she's like adamantly against magic, but I think it's only because she didn't get in.
Yeah.
For Dumbledore to say there's nothing she could do when, you have, what do you call it again?
Squib.
You've got, what's his name? The guy with the long, creepy hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a job there, Is it because like they didn't have magical parents that you're saying like, no, we have nothing for you to do then? Like it's only if you're a squib that like they could maybe find?
Yeah, I think I would have liked to have seen an end to this series where muggles and wizards were more connected.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the one thing that this series is missing is you have this, outside world, which is like the normal human world. And then you have this insulated world. And I think it would have been really cool if Rowling had set it up in a way where Voldemort's return involved the Muggle world, and she kind of started to do that with the Prime Minister, like the real Prime Minister, where you see the Minister for Magic going over there and talking with him and telling him what's going on. And I think it would have been a lot more interesting of an ending if it had kind of led to the Muggle world and the Wizard world kind of combining. And I know that that's a big ask, and that may have taken like one more book or something. But I think that would have been a really cool way to wrap things up. And it would have made it so that people like Petunia who wanted to be involved could be, but in, just a normal like Muggle way.
Well, I mean, if you look at what is it, Fantastic Beasts, you find out that they are much more when you, I don't want to say racist, but what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they are not okay with Muggle wizard relationships
Oh
in,
yeah, like
you
blood
know,
purity and
yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
They say like, well, in America, things are much more loose. Like they don't really care over there. And I think it would have been very hard to integrate that. I think it would have been
Sure.
its whole own series. So I can see why she did it that way. I can.
Yeah, there would have been a lot of boundaries to overcome, a lot of
Mhm.
barricades.
Prejudice is the word I was looking for.
Right, there you go. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But it seems like Lily and Snape had a genuine friendship, and as they get older, Snape is torn between his Death Eater friends and his love for Lily. He accidentally calls her a mudblood, and that's kind of what starts tearing them apart. Like, she overlooked a lot of stuff, and then he went and called her a mudblood, and she was like, okay, screw you. Like, it's like, man, you almost had her, and then you start doing some stupid stuff.
But then you can see why he gets so angry when it's like, okay, but then you went and chose a bully,
Sure.
and then you went
Right.
and chose a bully.
Yeah, I think her choosing James is ridiculous. Like, I think I like, knowing what we know of James, like, I've never seen him as like a good person. Like, there's never been a scene that shows us the good of James. We're told by Sirius, like, no, your dad was like a really good guy. He just had his moments like we all do. And it's like, yeah, but like, we never see that. Like, we never see him being a good guy.
Never.
Um, and so it's kind of like, I don't know, like, she didn't have very many good options, but I'm sure there was somebody at the school that was better than James and Snape.
Yeah, you
Uh,
didn't have to choose one of the two. Like, it
right,
was
yeah,
weird.
for real. Um, so then years later, after joining the dark side and giving the prophecy to Voldemort, or his part of the prophecy that he heard, Snape comes crawling back to Dumbledore asking for help, promising that he will do whatever Dumbledore requires of him if he saves Lily. And then in the next flash forward, Lily is dead. And then Dumbledore tells him, make sure she did not die in vain. Help me protect her son. He has her eyes. You remember her eyes, right, Severus? And he says, very well, but never tell anyone. I couldn't bear it, basically, if anybody found out about all this. And Dumbledore says, my word, Severus, that I never reveal the very best of you. And that's just it, right? Like, this one little piece of humanity is the very best of Snape. Otherwise, he's kind of a crappy person. But this is kind of his saving grace, that he, has the ability to love, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's not a very good saving grace.
No, because
But
if she wasn't there, you would have just gone full steam ahead with being
yeah.
like a terrible Death Eater. But
Yeah.
thank God we met Lily.
Right, yeah.
Because this whole story could have been very different otherwise. So
Right, yeah. If he hadn't had the hots for Lily, then,
yeah,
who knows what would have happened.
yeah.
So Snape is able to trap the curse from the ring in one hand for Dumbledore, and Dumbledore says, I am extremely fortunate that I have you, Severus. Dumbledore tells Snape that he will need to kill him instead of Draco. He doesn't want Draco's soul damage and believes that Snape's soul is already damaged, so it doesn't really matter. Snape is angry that he confides more in Harry than he does in him, which is kind of funny because Harry always felt very out of the loop. And so for Snape to think that Dumbledore was telling Harry more than he was him is just kind of like just two sides of the same coin, I guess.
It says at one point in the book, did you even know Dumbledore at all?
Right.
Did you actually know anything about Dumbledore at all?
Right. Yeah.
No, not really.
Not really.
I think that was mostly Dumbledore's doing. You know what I mean? Like, he knew what was going to happen to Harry, so he had to kind of keep him at arm's length distance for the plot and just for his own, soul.
Yeah. Yeah. We kind of talked about the next flashback where, he's like, Snape is like, all this time you've been having me protect Harry, and you've been raising him like a sheep for slaughter. Like, what does that mean for me? And Dumbledore kind of says, like, he says, how many people have you watched die? And Severus says, lately, only those who I could not save. So a little bit of a redemption for Snape. Like, there's kind of this thing where it's like, lately, in recent years, he's been trying to save people. He's been trying to make sure that nobody dies. He's been staying loyal to Dumbledore. He's been following the plan. He's been doing whatever is asked of him. He's been doing this whole double agent thing. So like he's trying to redeem himself, if not for the greater good, then for his love of Lily. And Dumbledore says that he trusts that Harry will have arranged things so that his own death means the death of Voldemort, and that is the big plan. And this is when we get the big, kind of like the big moment that everybody talks about, where Snape is upset that Dumbledore has used him this whole time, only to then sacrifice the only living son of Lily, who he's been trying to protect this whole time. And Dumbledore says, but this is touching, Severus. Have you grown to care for the boy? And Snape says, for him, expecto patronum. And it's the silver doe that we see guide Harry to the sword. And when I first read through the books, I legitimately had no idea who the silver doe belonged to. So this was like I was like, oh my God, that was Snape. I had no idea. And then Dumbledore says, after all this time, and Snape says, always. And that's kind of that's the thing. Everybody gets like the always tattoo. Like it's always the thing that people say, like always. Like it's a great moment. Like, no matter how you feel about Snape, it's a really, really good scene. So then later, basically, we see Dumbledore's portrait telling Snape that, he has to make this plan. He has to get Mundungus to plant this idea in the Order for Harry to be the Seven Potters, like the flight of the Seven Potters. And we see Snape sabotage the Death Eaters during the fight. And then we see Snape take the other half of Lily's letter, because when Harry finds it, it's like ripped. Mm-hmm. And so we see Snape is the one that got in there and took the letter from Sirius's room. And then the last thing we see is Dumbledore, his portrait, telling Snape to take the sword to Harry. So then we get like the end here. Like Harry walks into the forest and it says the long game had ended and the snitch had been caught and it was time to leave the air. And as Harry is going into the forest, he realizes that he's at the close, and he kisses the snitch and he says, I am about to die. And it opens, it gives him the stone, and he gets an amazing moment with his family. Do you guys have any thoughts on this scene? Because it makes me cry every single time.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like exactly what it's exactly what Harry needed, and obviously Dumbledore knew that that was going to be the final push, right? Final
Yeah.
determination in his decision to do what he needed to do was, seeing and talking to his parents, like pretty much
Yeah.
for real,
Yeah.
Yeah.
As close as he's ever going to get to
Yep.
seeing them in real life.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, especially after the mirror, where it shows
Yeah.
you what you most desire,
Yeah.
finally actual chance to really, communicate. Yeah, it was beautiful. It made me really sad. It made me really sad.
Yeah. Yeah. It was gut wrenching for him to see Lupin and tell him like,
Ugh.
you died and you have a son, and he's like, he'll be okay. Like, I trust that, my parents will take care, or Nymphadora's parents will take care of him. And
Well, technically, as a godparent, you're supposed to be the one that takes care of
It's
them.
true.
so that's the weird thing, right? And like as we get to the epilogue, real quick before we talk about that, I just want to say every time I've read this scene, I can hold it together until Harry's mom says, "You've been so brave." For whatever reason, that moment where she just recognizes all of the pain and the hurt that he's been through, and she just tells him like, "I'm proud of you. Like, I'm so proud of you." For some reason, that's the moment that the waterworks start for me. I just start like crying at that moment. I'm like, oh my God. And I can't stop until the scene ends.
Yeah.
It's such a good line. It's so like, I don't know, like think about if you were like a ghost and you watched your kid grow up for the past like 7, 8 years, like the most meaningful thing that you could say to them is, I've seen everything you've been through and I'm so proud of you. Like, oh God, it's making me tear up right now.
The
Yeah.
part that gets me along with that one is when Harry asks them, he says, "Does it hurt?" Dying.
Yeah, does it hurt?
That's another one. And
Yeah,
then I think Lupin or maybe Sirius says, "No, son, it doesn't hurt. It's just like
yeah,
falling asleep."
yeah. It's just like falling
Damn.
asleep. Yeah, that one hurts. And then Harry, and the book even says that he asked that, and it was almost like a childish question. Like he's been so brave and like so adult up to this point, and he just has this moment of like, he like knows that he needs to do it and he's ready to do it, and he just has this moment of like, but does it hurt? Just like this very like childish. Oh God, man, it's so brutal.
He's just like resigned himself to his
Yeah.
fate. So he's like, does it hurt? Like,
Yeah, but it's like,
deal with?
yeah, I agree, but it's almost like it's like I guess the point I'm making is that everything up to this point that he's done is so like selfless and like taking responsibility, and he just has this one moment to like ask for himself, just like this one like little, I wouldn't call it selfish, but like this one little selfish thing of like, but is it gonna hurt? Just like, oh God, it's such a good scene. And then of course, like the pretty much the final thing he says to them is, he's like, "Will you guys come with me?" And they're like, "We'll be there till the very end. Like, we will walk in with you and be with you until the very end." It's just like, oh my God, like,
I know.
oh, it's so good. It's like literally one of my favorite scenes in all of fantasy. It's fantastic. It's so good. In his dying moments, he confronts Voldemort, obviously, and in his dying moments, he thinks of Ginny and her blazing look on her face and her lips on his, and then it happens. He goes to King Cross Station. Let's not spend too much time on that. There's not too much that's revealed. If you've read the book, you know what happens there. There's a lot of like great moments from that, but mostly it's just cool that he gets to see Dumbledore again. And Dumbledore kind of explains like that Harry is able to come back to life and is able to, finish off Voldemort.
Mhm.
But I do want to say maybe like one of my favorite quotes in the series, maybe one of my favorite quotes in all of fantasy, because I think it's so perfect for like a reader of fantasy, is Harry saying at the very end, he says, "Is all of this real or is it just happening inside my head?"
Mhm.
And Dumbledore says, "Of course it is happening inside your head, Harry, but why on earth should that mean it's not real?"
Mhm.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
is such a good quote. It's like I want to have that quote like above my bookshelf or something. I think it's so perfect for like a reader of fantasy. Like, of course it's happening inside your head, but why does that mean it's not real? Like, so good, so good. So let's jump to the end. Neville kills Nagini, which is a great moment. We talked about that. It comes through the hat, and he's able to chop off the head of Nagini. Very, very good. Mrs. Weasley kills Bellatrix, and she says something to the effect of, "Stay away from my children, you bitch."
I
And
love
it's the one time I get to say that on the podcast because it's in the book. It's
it.
literally a quote from the book.
Like, in the book.
I might bleep it out, but it's in the book. And then as a killing curse is sent at Molly, Harry casts Protego, revealing himself. Sam, do you want to talk about this final battle with Voldemort and how it plays out? Because I'm running out of breath.
I mean, it's just expected to me. In a way, it's kind of a very run of the mill, just power against power and whatnot. So,
But
I
do
mean,
you understand why it happens? Like why Harry has the edge over Voldemort?
maybe not. I'm not sure.
Okay,
Gabe?
because
Just Gabe?
because yeah, do you remember Gabe?
Well, yeah, I thought because, and I could be wrong because there's a lot to it, but I thought it
Sure.
was because, Harry was the Horcrux, right? Or
Yeah.
is a Horcrux. And I don't
That
know.
that
It has to do with that, I think.
well, that's how he was able to come back to life.
Yeah,
But
but
in
but
but
oh, go ahead.
but after that, basically what it is that Voldemort was convinced that Snape had been the master of the Elder
Oh,
Wand
yeah,
But Harry
because
was.
yeah, but Harry was because Snape Snape killed Dumbledore, but Draco was the one that disarmed him.
yeah.
And so then later, when Harry disarmed Draco, he took the mantle of Master of the Elder Wand from Draco and was able to fight against Voldemort
Mm,
and have the edge because the with Voldemort using the Elder Wand, if the funny thing is, if Voldemort had literally used any other wand, it would have been a 50-50 shot. But because Voldemort was so convinced that he was now the master of the Elder Wand, that's that's why
yeah,
he lost, is because the Elder Wand recognized its master in Harry and wouldn't kill him.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um, and so if Voldemort had just like stepped down from his ego a little bit and used literally any other wand, he might have been more powerful than Harry and been able to overwhelm him and kill him. But because of his ego, because of his like
Hubris. Yeah.
I have to be the master of the Elder Wand, like that's why he died.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of fits into the theme of these books is like have humility. Like Harry has humility, and Voldemort doesn't, and it's kind of apparent in all of that. Voldemort dies. Kingsley Shacklebolt becomes Minister for Magic. All the people that are Imperious come back to themselves. Everything in the wizarding world starts to heal and go back to normal. He sees Ginny, and there's a great quote: "There would be time to talk later, hours and days, and maybe years to come." I do love the scene of the trio walking into Dumbledore's office, and they're all like clapping for him. Dumbledore is like crying, and he tells Dumbledore that the Resurrection Stone is somewhere in the forest. So then Harry, Ron, and Hermione decide to use the Elder Wand to fix his original wand and then bury the Elder Wand. And Harry says, "I've had enough trouble for a lifetime."
Yeah.
So the epilogue is 19 years later. Harry is now an adult and a father. And him and Ginny have 2 sons. So they have Albus Severus Potter. This is the middle son of Harry and Ginny, named after, Albus Dumbledore and Severus Snape. Harry says he was the bravest man I ever knew, but Albus is nervous about going into, he's like, what if I get, put in Slytherin? And Harry's like, the hat will give you a choice. He's like, I've never told anybody this before, but it wanted to put me in Slytherin, and I asked it to put me in Gryffindor. And so it's Albus's first year, obviously. And then James is a little older, obviously named after Harry's father and Sirius Black. And he's kind of mischievous, and he seems a lot like James. He seems a lot like Harry's father. Mm-hmm. Was there anything else you guys noticed from this epilogue? Any other characters where you're like, oh, I really liked their ending, or anything that you were particularly happy with?
Not really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see, everybody got together with the person, like, their, I don't know, high school sweetheart kind of thing, but everybody's got a family and kids, and so that's cool. Yeah.
The one thing I find kind of interesting is that Teddy Lupin is getting together with Victoire, I think is her name, which is Bill and Fleur's daughter. And then Harry says that Teddy should come live with them, which is what should have been going on. Like, I assumed that Harry would be living with, or that Teddy would be living with Harry and Ginny. And it's weird that he hasn't been. So I asked people online, I'm like, where's he been living this whole time? And he's been living with Tonks's parents, like the
Teddy,
grandparents.
Andromeda.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of like, okay, but why wasn't he? It seems like such an obvious choice that he would go live with Harry. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but I guess now he is. And then the final line of the book is that Harry touched the lightning-shaped scar on his forehead. The scar had not pained Harry for 19 years. All was well. And I want to get that tattooed. I want to get "All Was Well" as a tattoo next to my golden snitch tattoo. Because I love, it's like a perfect ending. Just all, like, very simple, very cut and dry. All was well. And it's like very, very good. So, Sam, I know you got to go, but if we can just do final thoughts real quick and wrap up with those. I have some interesting facts from some people here. This lady had commented on my very first Harry Potter video, and at the end of it, it was my I just read Harry Potter for the first time at 31 video. Mm-hmm. And I had asked, I'm like, so where do all these characters end up? Like, does anybody know? Like, has anybody seen interviews where she, like, tells what happened to these characters, like, later on or anything? And this person responded and gives us a rundown of where everybody ends up in the next like 20 to 30, 40 years. So I think it'd be really cool to like go through this real quick before we end.
Okay, real
Um,
please.
yeah, I promise. So, George, she said, how do you think a person lives without his other half? Fred was George's soulmate in the not romantic sense, you know, like his whole life. So it was pretty awful. He never fully recovers, she said. About his life, he supposedly married a fellow classmate. I don't know if you remember her, Angelina Johnson, and had kids, the eldest being Fred. He names his eldest Fred. Um, and then he continues to run their joke shop with Ron joining later on. Teddy Lupin had a wonderful upbringing, as well as it could be as an orphan, living between first his maternal grandparents, Mr. Ted Tonks, and his wife Andromeda, the better sister of the three black sisters. And then later in his life, as you read, he visited, then started to stay a lot with his godfather Harry and his family. And then much later on in his life, supposedly married Bill Weasley and Fleur's eldest daughter, Victoire. It was hinted at in the 19 years later part that he was dating her. So then the most important part was the Weasley family kept expanding on and on. So what do you expect? It was warmer than ever in the old couple's house with all the grandkids. And that was the only thing that's really been said about them. Harry and Ron never finished their last year they still had after the Battle of Hogwarts. They didn't do the super senior thing. And they instantly became qualified Aurors for a while. And then Ron shifted to run the joke shop with George. And Harry then became the head of magical law enforcement at the Ministry of Magic. Now, I've known about Harry becoming an Auror, and I always thought it was kind of weird. I thought he should have become the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. But it's cool to see that they made a career out of that. Hermione finished her last year, typical Hermione, then worked for the Ministry, first in Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures Department, fighting still for creatures like house elves, then deputy head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, working directly with the Minister for Magic, Kingsley Shacklebolt. She worked to get rid of old laws that favored pureblood wizards and witches. Then, later, she became the Minister of Magic herself. And I would not have seen that coming. Ginny went pro playing Quidditch for the all-female Quidditch team, the Holyhead Harpies. Then she retired while celebrating and became senior Quidditch correspondent for the Daily Prophet. That's interesting. Neville became an herbology professor, as you read in the epilogue, and married fellow classmate, the Hufflepuff Hannah Abbott. Luna very much became just like Newt Scamander, if you're familiar with Fantastic Beasts, just traveling about, discovering creatures and adventuring, basically a naturalist, and also married Newt Scamander's grandson, Rolf Scamander. Malfoy was discussed in the epilogue, and there's not much interesting on him, just keeping to himself. His wife and only son's mother died very young, so she died, and then he remained a bachelor the rest of his life, I guess. She says, I also don't think that he has that potential to have the enemy to friend hero arc. He was just raised far away from ever finding that path truly, but he just really did nothing bad after the Battle of Hogwarts. And that's kind of it. So that's kind of our main characters and where they ended up. And so I'm really glad that she put all of that there, because there was a feeling of like, there's got to be some information on where everybody ended up, you know. All right, guys. Well, Sam, I know you got to go. We're going to wrap up here.
Screaming.
What's that?
I hear my son screaming downstairs, so I just don't know what's going on down there.
Sure. Okay, guys. Well, yeah, thanks for hanging out. And this has been such a fun series. I know it got kind of daunting at the end, but it has been such a joy to go through these books, especially with Sam reading them for the first time and everything. So thanks for hanging in there with me for 8 episodes of this. We're gonna go on to diversify our fantasy readings here in the near future. So we'll have a break from doing the same series over and over and over for a while. But just thank you for your patience and hanging in there with me, guys. All right, everyone. Well, we are at the close. We've finished our time at Hogwarts and we're about to move on to other things. It's been a wonderful and magical ride and has been so much fun. Thank you all for joining us on this journey. Let us know down below in the comments what your favorite Harry Potter moments are from the series and what you think of the ending. I would really love to know, what you think of like that like epilogue portion from the movie. Like, did you think it was nightmare fuel or did you think it was all right? And what did you think of the epilogue just from the book? Like, are you happy with the way things ended up? Do you wish that Draco had a redemption arc? I would love to know all about that down below. Also, if you have any cool pieces of trivia or world building details that you've gleaned over the years, just like we were talking about earlier, then definitely post them below because I would love to bring that up on a future episode. Again, you can reach out to us on Twitter, Discord, and Patreon, which are all linked down below. We always love chatting with you guys, so feel free to leave us a comment or message us directly. But that is it for us today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and until next time, always remember that happiness can be found in even the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Bye, everybody.